Hey everybody, another GMG review. Today we're taking a look at probably the final Arks of Omen book, Arks of Omen, The Lion, 4 new factions, and of course, the man himself, El-Jonson, back from whatever beating he took at the end of the Horus Heresy that broke his bones, left him in a 10,000-year coma, and then sent him wandering across the galaxy as kind of like a 40k version of the Bretonnian Green Knight. He shows up wherever there's chaos, and all that's left is butchered bodies and the weird smell of trees and forest. For some reason, like, the spiritual forest of Caliban is inhabiting some type of extra-dimensional webway. He's walking across planets, and it's not super... I mean, it's fairly vaguely explained as to how he's been wandering around when Dante finds him and puts him on the path of, you know, saving the Imperium as the Imperium Let, the Arks of Omen, and all of the Ark fleet basically start destroying everything. He's also collecting the Fallen, so spoilers. He's trying to redeem everybody. The Fallen are all following around like a little mini army. Dante seems cool with this. Obviously, the contemporary Dark Angels are not. And yeah, and it's causing some stress, but he's very sort of like specific about the fact that all of the Dark Angels were faithful as long as they didn't fall to chaos, like Luther did, and he is planning on redeeming them. So this book is, again, pushing the story forward. We're teetering ever closer to whatever the midnight, the 2 minutes to midnight sort of like opening of the Eye Terror is for this new edition of Warhammer 40k. And obviously, the Lion is becoming a major protagonist in this story as he rejoins the Imperium. Has kind of his own little sort of Gilliman moment where he's like, oh, this is it, eh? This is what's left. Oh man, we did so much work, and this is what you guys turned into over 10,000 years. He's not super happy about it. And especially, he is deeply, deeply dissatisfied with the bureaucracy, the bureaucrats, and the lordlings, because he does not like the entrenched government of the current Imperium and the way they treat humanity. So again, a good solid 50 pages dedicated to that background material, the sort of like campaign status of the Ark fleets, and then big, beautiful color section featuring him. And now we've got, as we get into, again, this is a boarding action supplement. It was kindly sent as a complimentary review copy by GW, and has 4 new factions, boarding action rules, as well as some new scenario and campaign stuff for us to dig into, along with a like sort of a new sort of like scenario pack to go along with it. That's called The Red Angel's Wake. These are dread encounters. So we're talking about like when stuff starts to go really wrong in an Ark of Omen, a whole bunch of missions to outline that. And then finally, last but not least, we have some data sheets for new units. We have El-Jonson himself. We have Commander Dante in his Primaris form. We have a Cartographica Rogue Trader profile, a Imperial Navy Breachers profile codified into a book instead of just a PDF, and the Voids Men-at-Arms and Vigilant Squad. So the Space Cops, the Subductor and Vigilant Squad are in here too, so if you're looking for your Arbites, basically the last couple releases of more spaceship-themed stuff in Kill Team are all ratified in this book, and we'll go through that stuff as well. But let's get into it in the beginning with the 4 factions that finally have rules. These are pretty exciting for me because I played, I think, 3 out of 3 of these? 3 to 4 of these? Yeah, it's Leagues of Votaan, Thousand Suns, Custodes, and Agents of the Imperium. And we're going to get right in with the Space Dwarves. So, as usual, this Arks of Omen stuff is going to be broken into a couple different categories. First, the unique mustering rules. So for leagues, it's I have to be from the same league. You can have 1 heavy support, but it has to be Thunderkin, and you can't upgrade a Broadcure Ironmaster unit to have to be a Broadcure Forge Master's unit. So no becoming a Forge Master. Rules adaptations: if you're Votaan, then enemy units do not gain judgment tokens from completing the set Overwatch, set to defend or operate hatchway actions. We played a couple games where they did, and man, oh man, that was rough for them. The multi-wave comms array war gear changes its rules to the bearer's unit gains the comms keyword, and while friendly Cal models in the battlefield, the bearer's unit is considered to be in range of its aura. So basically, if you have a comm array, it doesn't matter the rules for the walls, you're just always able to talk to them. And then when resolving the crushing contempt psychic power, if the result of the roll is greater than to or equal to the leadership characteristic of the enemy unit, then if that unit's set Overwatch, set to defend, then it's no longer in those states. They lose it. All right, so 3 different enhancements. We have the Veer Delve Plate, +1 wound, and add 1 to armor saves made for the bearer. We We have Shrewd Expertise as another enhancement. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Votaan unit within 9 of the bearer. Until the start of your next command phase, the unit has the obsec ability. If the model of that unit already has this ability, they count as additional models. And then the Strength of the Hold. When a friendly unit's within 6 of the bearer, if that unit's not in engagement range of any enemy units, it counts as being set to defend. So that's pretty cool. Basically, you're always set to defend if within 6 of this guy, as long as you're not already engaged. And then you get 6 stratagems. You get Hardened Resolution. And again, these stratagems basically, a lot of them kind of mimic what happens in the current army books. So some of the stuff's not going to sound super new, but some of it's boarding action specific. So Hardened Resolution, using your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase. When you're in range of an objective marker as the target of an attack. When the model attacking model's unit finishes making their attacks, each time a model in the Votaan unit would lose a wound and a 5+ net loss. You get a 5+ wound show up next to objectives for 1 CP. For 1 or 2 CPs, you get Exacting Focus. Use stratagem in your shooting phase. Select a Votaan unit until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, improve the AP by 1. And if you're Hearthkin, it's 1, otherwise you cost 2. So bigger units, better guns. It's more expensive. Hatchway Overrides for 1 CP. This is a pretty common one. A bunch of armies have this one. Using either player's movement phase when you or your opponent attempts to prevent a hatchway from within one of a Votaan unit from being opened or closed, you automatically basically win the roll-off. Familial Loyalty. Using your opponent's charge phase, select a Votaan unit from your army. And until the end of the phase, they're able to heroically intervene. A Newfound Nemesis for 1 CP. When a Votaan character model from your army is destroyed, the enemy unit that destroyed them gets 2 judgment tokens. And if they were a Grimnir, then the unit gets 3 judgment tokens. Don't kill the Psychers. And the last one is Focused Gravitic Blast for 1 CP. Using your shooting phase, when a concussion unit from your army is selected to shoot, select 1 enemy unit within 6 of the unit. Until the start of your next shooting phase, each time a model in that unit in the selected enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from their hit roll. And if that unit had set Overwatch set to defend, they lose it, and then they fail any other action they're performing. So you get to use your cool concussion weapons to knock people out. So again, neat. I think the judgment thing is pretty fair. Otherwise, because you're performing actions constantly in boarding action, the opponent army would just be getting exploded by the end of the first turn. Thousand Suns. All right, so mustering and boarding patrol. All Great Cult units have to be the same Great Cult. You can include a fast, but it has to be Chaos Spawn. You cannot include more than 1 unit of cultists, and the combined total number of cultists and Bray units cannot exceed your Rubric Marine units. And you cannot upgrade any models to be Legion Command. And then tons of psychic adaptations, but this makes sense because there's so many psychic powers. Rubric Marines and Scarab Occult Terminator units that do not contain Aspiring Sorcerers or Scarab Occult Sorcerer model after you've formed your boarding squads lose the Psyker keyword and lose the Sorcerer's Master keyword. So if you break them in half for whatever reason, and the half that doesn't have the Psyker doesn't remain a Psyker. Thousand Suns Chaos Spawn gains the following thing: Fated Mutation. Each time a unit is selected to fight, you do not need to roll to determine which mutated Beyond Reason ability applies. Simply pick the result you wish to have for the duration of the fight. And then the Malevolent Charge Cabal Ritual costs 5 Cabal points. For the purpose of the Warp Reality Psychic Power, only open hatchways are considered training features. The Sorcerer's Facade, Psychic Power, Facade, what am I doing? Has a warp charge of 11. Baleful Devolution is 9. The Dark Blessing is 9, and Temporal Surge is 9. You get 3 enhancements. You get Master the Malefic Conduit. At the start of your Psychic phase, you get D3 Cabal points. Walker of Fractured Ways. In your movement phase, each time the bear is selected to move, it can move through 1 closed hatchway as if it was open while making that move. That hatchway does not open as a result, and this model cannot end that move within a hatchway. It's basically you're moving through doors. And then Dominator of Fate. In your command phase, select a friendly Thousand Suns unit within 9 of the bear that's not within engagement range until the start of your next command phase. When you fire Overwatch, it counts as holding steady, and each time that unit fights, it counts as being set to defend. So again, I probably would just take the one that because you're not going to get a ton of ritual points otherwise, or Cabal points otherwise. I'd probably take the Cabal one, but being able to move through doors could be super handy too. Also, I mean, if you've got the CPs, because you do get a lot of CPs, having people be able to just Overwatch all the time, having hold steady during Overwatch is pretty great, because you do have a lot of shooting units. All 3 of them, I think, have a purpose to be taken. You get 6 different boarding action stratagems. You get Inhuman Savagery as your first one for 1 CP. Using a fight phase on a Zangor unit until the end of the phase. Each time they make a melee attack, reroll the hit roll. So 1 CP, reroll your hits. Endurance of Aeons for 1 or 2. You can use this when a Rubric Marine or Terminator unit from your army is selected as the target of an attack. Basically, you get Transhuman. It costs 1 for regulars and 2 for Terminators. So only wound on 4+. Mirror Mind for 1 CP. Use this psych power in your psych phase, and you select a 1000 Sun Psyker. And it's funny because this is not going to matter in a minute because there's not going to be psych phase. Until the end of the phase, that unit can manifest psychic powers without any actions it's performing failing, excluding psychic actions. Pax Diabolus. Use this stratagem in your psychic phase when a 1000 Sun Psychic unit from your army successfully manifests a psychic power. Until the start of your next psychic phase, the next time a saving throw has failed for an attack made against that unit, reduce the damage characteristic of that attack to 0. So basically just go to 0 for damage. Entombed Automata. Use this stratagem during your deployment when setting up a Rubric Marine unit from your army in an entry zone. That unit can be set up anywhere in the battlefield, wholly within 6 of that entry zone, and you can only use it once. So basically you just get to like wake up a unit of Rubric Marines that were like sleeping on the spaceship somewhere. Eldritch Accuracy. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Rubric Marine or Scarab Occult Terminators unit from your army that did not advance this turn is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can ignore any to hit modifiers and the target does not receive the benefit of cover. So again, this is just, I think, a pretty classic example of make it harder for psychic powers to work because they're really powerful in small games. Allow you to still maintain and earn like Cabal points because it's hard otherwise, and then give you back some of your Codex powers. So it feels like it just makes this a capable army in the boarding action sphere by giving them back some of what's in their Codex. All right, Custodes, I'm excited for this one. Mustering boarding patrol. All shield host units have to be the same shield host. You can include 1 fast attack, but only if it's Witch Seekers. You can include a Custodian Warden unit if its starting strength is 3 or 6 models. When forming boarding squads, if Warden's unit has 6, then it splits into 2 of 3 each. You can include an Alris Custodian unit if it's 1, 2, or 3 models. When forming it, you can choose to split it into multiple units, each containing 1 model. You can only add Knight Centurion models if your boarding patrol includes at least 1 other Anathema Psychana unit, and you cannot upgrade a model in your army to have the Unstoppable Destroyer Commander ability. So no free piling whatever you want. That's an amazing ability. And then your rules adaptation. If your faction is Custodes, then the following rules adaptations apply. When a Psyker unit takes a Psych test, the total only affected by units with the Daughters of the Abyss rule that are visible to the Psyker unit. When a Psyker unit takes a Psychic test, the total is only affected by units with this Daughters of the Abyss rule that are visible to the Psyker. What? If your faction is Custodes, then the following rules adaptations apply to Custodes. That makes no sense. When a Psyker unit takes a Psychic test, the total is only affected by units with the Daughters of the Abyss rule that are visible to Psyker. Oh, I see. Okay, so I had to read that like 3 times how that makes sense. Only if the Psyker doing the power can see the Daughters of the Emperor did the negative modifiers for being Daughters of the Emperor apply to it. Otherwise, it would just hit the whole board because the Urus would be so big. And then note that Trajan Valorous' Captain General rule does not allow him to gain any enhancements. There's 3 enhancements. Shard of Majesty. Once per battle before making a saving throw for the bear can activate this enhancement, and you get a 3+ invul. Mantle of Sequestered Motions. You can reroll advance and charge rolls, and you're eligible to charge even if you advance. That one's really cool. And then Judgment of the Void. For Knight Centaurs, only at the end of your movement phase, you can select 1 enemy unit within 9 invisible. Until the start of your next movement phase, that unit loses objective secured. And if that unit is performing the secure site action, it automatically fails. So neat. I mean, they don't need a ton of help. It's cool that you can take your Wardens and your Terminators and change the sizes and stuff, because that would be fun to do. I haven't actually used my Custodes, I think, in a boarding action game. I should definitely use them now that I have the rules. So your boarding action stratagems: Arcane Genetic Alchemy for 2 CPs, it's transhuman. Duty Before the Throne, use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Custodes or Anathema Psychana unit from your army that has not already been selected to fight is selected as a target of an attack. You get to fight when you die. Sense of Sanction for 1. Use stratagem in your charge phase, select an Anathema Psychana unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, that unit can declare a charge against Psyker units that are not visible. Oathbound Protectors for 1 CP. Use stratagem in the Heroic Intervention step of your opponent's charge phase. Select a Custodes or Psychana unit from your army, and then they can heroically intervene up to 6. And then back to 2 CPs for Rapid Reactions. Using the opponent's movement phase, when an enemy unit that was within engagement range of Custodes unit from your army is selected to move and then falls back. If that Adeptus Custodes unit is not within engagement range of any other enemy units, it can shoot as if it was a shooting phase. We have to target them and you're -1 to hit. And then Talons Bared for 1 CP. When a hatchway is opened by a Custodes or Vigilators unit from your army, until the end of the turn, if that unit is now within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units as a result of the hatchway being opened, they count as having charged. So basically, For a CP, you open a door on a unit next to a door, and you kind of having charged because you're just that good. I'm excited for it. They don't need a ton of help. I just think there's some clarity. I think for Psychic armies, reducing it to just line of sight for the Anathema Psychic units is probably good. And I'm excited to use them because they're one of the few armies I haven't tried out in boarding actions yet. And they're one of my favorite little armies that I did a project on. All right, let's talk about some Agents of the Imperium. I'm super pumped for this one because it's basically like if you wanted to play like Eisenhorn in a Space Hulk, this is how you do it. You can even have Fishing now because you can have Custodes, or not Custodes, Arbites. So mustering and boarding patrol. When mustering a boarding patrol, if your faction is Agents of the Imperium, then the following applies. All Ordo units in your boarding patrol have to be from the same Ordo, so no mixing different Inquisitorial Ordos. If you include an Inquisitor model, you can include Inquisition units, even though they do not have the Agents of the Imperium keyword. You can include up to 3 Inquisition characters, but only one of them can be an Inquisitor. Acolyte units can be taken at a unit size of 5 models and are considered to have the troops battlefield role. That's pretty cool. You can only include an Officio Assassinorum model regardless of how many other character models your boarding patrol contains, but it cannot be your Warlord. When mustering your boarding patrol, select one of the following Acolyte units, either Navis Imperialis troops units, Arbites troop units. The selected unit from your army gains OBSEC. And then when forming boarding squads, do not split Voidsmen and Arms units into separate units. So you can take those 3 unit types. I love that it's just like Voidsmen, the Navy Breachers, and the Cops, and they all can become OBSEC. And then rules adaptations, Daemon Host models lose the demonic power ability, and instead add 1 to their strength and attacks. That's good because it's not random then. When you deploy an Inquisitor unit, excluding Demon Hosts in an entry zone, you can deploy a friendly Jakara Weaponsmith unit in that entry zone as well. If your boarding action does not include any character models other than assassins, but does include an Exaction squad, you can give an enhancement to the Proctor Exactant as if it was a character, so you can have them lead your army. Officio Assassinorum and Jakara Weaponsmith and Demon Host models cannot be given enhancements. And the Officio Assassinorum models with the Independent Operative and Polymorphine abilities lose the abilities. And instead you get Infiltrating Assassin. Before the battle deploy army step, you can set up anywhere in an entry zone, you can set up anywhere on the battlefield outside of 6. Wholly within 6 of that entry zone. So you pick a different entry zone to do it in. So you just get a 6-inch move basically for your Cowardice Assassin. Enhancements, you get Deck Fighter. At the end of your movement phase, select a friendly unit within 9 of the bear. It's not within engagement range of your any units from your army. That's not within engagement range of any units with units from your army. Select 1 friendly unit that is within 9 of the bearer and is not within engagement range of any units from your army. That unit has set Overwatch, is holding steady, and set to defend, but cannot make range attacks this turn. Okay, weird that they can't be near any of your guys. You have to be by yourself, basically. That one's weird. The Void Cuirass of Yerat. The bear has a 4+ invul, and each time an attack is allocated to the bear, subtract 1 from its damage. That one's going to be really handy, because, I mean, most of these, like, Agents of the Imperium characters, they're just guardsmen. Like, they have, like, Strength Toughness 3, 4 wounds, right? So being able to have +1 save and a 4+ invul is going to be handy. And then Inquisitorial Mandate, for Inquisitors only, you become OBSEC because you just show everybody a piece of paper that says, Ron Swanson, I do what I want. And then once per turn, in your movement phase, when the bearer is making a normal move, you can select 1 objective marker that the bearer is within range of, and that you control. That objective marker counts as having had a unit from your army successfully complete the secure site action. You just go, that one's mine. That is the most Inquisitor-like ability ever, and I would take it every game I had an Inquisitor just because it's like the most story-driven to rules thing I've ever seen. Now they get 8 boarding action stratagems, and they kind of reflect the different units you can take. So Into the Breach, this one's for RBDs or Navy Breachers, and when they're selected as the target of an attack, they're -1 strength for those attacks, and this is when you shoot or fight. For 1 CP, Uncompromising Executioners. This is just for RBDs in your shooting phase or fight phase. Until the end of the turn, you can reroll the wound roll. And then Storm the Decks for 1 CP. This one's for Navy Breachers. You get to add 2 to advance rolls, and the unit's eligible to charge even if it advanced in your movement phase. For 1 CP, Loyal to the End, use a stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase when an Acolyte unit from your army is selected as the target of an attack. Until the end of the phase, each time a unit model is destroyed, it can fight or shoot before it's destroyed. And then Go Get 'em for 1 CP, use a stratagem in your opponent's movement phase when a unit from the enemy army finishes a move. Select 1 Canid or Cybermastiff model from your army that's visible and within 9 of the enemy. They take D3 mortal wounds, and that model's destroyed. But it's ignored for morale. So basically, you send the dog to go murder somebody from either of those units. Hatchway expertise for 1 CP. Use a strategy in your movement phase when a Navis Imperialis or Acolyte unit from your army finishes a normal move. You can open a hatchway within one of them, and you can't prevent it from being opened. So you just basically know how to pop the door. Strict Judgment for Arbites. Using your opponent's command phase, select an enemy unit within non-invisible to an Arbites unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, they lose OBSEC and cannot perform site security. You just turn it off because you're like, oh no, it's the cops! And then concussion grenades. When a concussion grenade from your unit from your army in your movement phase opens a hatchway until the start of your next movement phase, each enemy unit that was visible within 6 of that hatchway and was not visible to the concussion grenade unit before it opened is concussed. While a unit's concussed, it cannot fire Overwatch each time it makes an attack. It's -1 to hit and can't be re-rolled because you just throw flashbangs through the door. I love all of those. Again, that's the cool thing about boarding actions. You can make a small selection of rules that make units feel like they would kind of in the story and background, and all of these make it feel like, yeah, you're playing with space cops, and you're playing with Navy breachers, and you're playing with crazy, like committed acolytes of the Inquisition. All right, so boarding action missions, dread encounters and breaching operations. So these are like the climactic moments of Arks of Omen where you might have like a giant cool fighty model on it. And then the breaching operations are the ones where you're trying to basically like shoot out weakened walls or like put giant monsters through them to like destroy the ship itself. I'm not going to spoil these too much, but they use the same components as the standard like core box ones. There's no additional stuff required. So if you do want to pick up this book, you don't need any of the like kill team weirdo terrain to play it. You just need what's the standard stuff. There's 6. The Red Angel's Wake, Empiric Erosion, Whispers in the Void, Macro Junction 5B, Seize the Engine Deck, and Slay the Night Terror. And all of these are about big models and like sort of like dramatic showdowns at the end. There are some like mission-based rules for changing up in each mission, basically how you interact with that stuff, how you interact with like the big models. And then you can also have special enhancements like breaching charges. And this will allow you to use, the breaching section is the next one, the breaching operations ones. This is the one that does use new terrain features, which is the breached walls. And they take place, they have like a pop-up piece of terrain for destroying a wall. And they're used in one of the new kill team boxes, I believe, and will be available either shortly or soon, but they're described here. And the rules for using them is additional enhancements to give units that are based on the scenario. So like you're going to give out like melta bombs, melta charges, big breaching rams. You can actually like knock holes in walls now, which is cool. It also uses the data consoles and like the soul shackle upgrades and stuff as well for other certain missions. So the remaining missions in here, the breaching ones, are about using like that additional stuff that came in Kill Team that doesn't have rules yet. All right, let's talk about some data sheets. So we're looking at Dante at 175 points. And then El-Jonson and Lord of War's 320 points. So big point models. And then your Cartographica Rogue Trader is 60 points and can be given a Electromaster, a Rejuvenate Adept, or a Death Cult Executioner. So this is to use the stuff from the old Kill Team expansion to like have those models have rules. All the rules are in here. And then Navy Breachers get their stat, but we've already seen that on Warhammer Community, the Subductor Squad as well, the Vigilant Squad, and the Voidsmen at Arms. The Exaction Squad, and of course, those guys make up an army list. So what's cool is the final sort of like unit in here has a big selection of the miniatures available to them, and that are actually, I think all of that stuff comes in the Boarding Patrol box that GW is releasing as well, which is a very cool box because it's basically the contents. It's the Rogue Trader half of the Rogue Trader Kill Team box set. And then all the rules for what's in that box set are here in this single book. So if you want to have it all in one place and you're picking up that box set just because you're excited about the miniatures, you'll be able to have the 40K rules for them in print, not just some PDF on the website. So I'm just going to go through Dante and Lionel. Actually, I'm just going to go through El-Jonson because Dante's, again, I think mostly been covered on by community, but I'll touch on it briefly. He's obviously the big cool thing here. He's got Primarch stats, so he's move 8, 2+2+, strength up to 6, 9 wounds, 10 attacks, leadership 11 because he's, brave, and 2+ save. Arma Luminis. And of course, again, this stat block only matters for like until 10th comes out, which is relatively soon. It's a bolt / plasma pistol. Pistol 2, strength 4, -1/2 damage, or strength 8, -4 2 damage for the plasma side. And then Fealty can do 2 attack types. It does a strike, which is 11 attacks at strength 10, -5 4 damage. Or 22 attacks at strength 6, -3 2 damage. Could you imagine how badly this guy kills a Chaos Space Marine squad with 22 2+ to hit, strength 6 attacks, just like wading through stuff? He's got Angels of Death rules. He can forest walk during deployment. You can set this model up on a shadowed path instead of setting up on the battlefield. If you do so during the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases, you can set up this model anywhere in the battlefield that's more than 9 away from enemy models. Until the end of the turn, you can reroll charge rolls and made for this model. So basically, you can teleport anywhere on the table, just a set of 9, and then reroll your charge. So he just goes where he wants and charges where he wants. It's pretty ridiculous. The Emperor's Shield gives him a 4+ invul save, and each time a saving throw is made for this model against a melee attack, and a modified roll of 6, they take a mortal wound back to a maximum of 3 after they make their attacks. And then he's a Martial Exemplar. At the start of the fight phase, if this model is in engagement range, it just fights. It just goes first. And he's Primarch of the First Legion. Dark Angels characters, core and character models within 6 of them, reroll hits of 1 and 1. So he's got the same thing for Dark Angels that Guilliman has for Ultramarines, just reroll hits and wins a 1. And then Watches in the Dark, up to twice per battle, this model can attempt to deny the Witch, as if it was a Psyker, and the model attempting to manifest Psych power is a Chaos Psyker. You can reroll deny the Witch test. He just hates Chaos. And then his Warlord trait is no hiding from the Watchers. In your movement phase, select one friendly Dark Angel unit within 9 of this Warlord. Until the end of the phase, if that unit's eligible to perform heroic interventions as if it was a character, and eligible to perform a heroic intervention as if it was in 6 and 5 vertically. So my only problem with this profile, which I think is cool, and one, this profile, again, doesn't matter because it's going to be gone with the new profile in the 10th edition format soon. Why doesn't he affect Fallen? If the whole story is that, like, dude, I know it's not really a keyword right now. I think the only person that actually has it is Cypher, but let him affect Fallen. Like, his whole story right now is that he's collecting the Fallen basically to, like, fight as an army for him. Just let him affect Fallen. It should just say Dark Angels and Fallen Angels. Like, it's such a minor grievance, but so much time is put into, like, the fact that this guy is forgiving everybody that was Fallen. Just let him do it. And then Dante, he's 12-inch because he has jump pack, 2/2. Strength of is 4, 7 wounds, 7 attacks, leadership 9. His Perdition pistol is a very cool 9-inch range, 8-4, D6+2 melta pistol. And of course, it's each time attack is made, if it hits score, draw a line between it and the closest point in the model's base or hull, and make a wound roll against the target unit and every other unit that it was passed through. Because he just does like the Hammer of Dawn, like brrr, just like a big heat ray line. The Axe Mortalis is +3/-3 2 damage, so it's got a cool strength 7 attack. And then Frag Crack Grenades. He's got his Death Mass, you're -1 to hit him. He's got a 4+ invul from his Iron Halo. He's the Lord Regent of the Imperium Nihilus. If your army is battle forged, when this model is rewarded, you receive an additional command point. And he's a Chapter Master, so a Chapter Master and writes battle rules as if he was a big guy. And then Epic Hero of the Imperium. Once per battle, if this model is selected to use an Epic Deed stratagem, it just costs 0 command points because he's just that damn good. And I think that's it. Cartographic Rogue Trader gets some rules in here. It's basically the guard stat, so it's like a 3/3, strength type is 3, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 9, 4+ save. You get the Executioner, the Electromaster, and the Rejuvenate Adept, which are cool. They're just baby characters. They're not. This is all a rule of cool army. they're not particularly powerful, and everything else I think we've seen in PDF online, so I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on it. As far as like the cops go, we're looking at 9 Vigilance and a Proctor Vigilant. They're, again, just basically humans with 2 attacks and leadership 8 and a 4+ save. So guard Kazarkin kind of stats, but they're 4+4+ instead of 3+3+. They've got Arbity's combat shotguns, Assault 2, 18-inch range, 4-1, 1 damage. The grenade launchers, 24-inch range, 6-1, 3 damage because it fires crack. Shot pistols, pistol 1, 4-1, 1 damage. Like, they're pretty brawly for what they are. They can take Webbers, which is funny. They cause mortal wounds. And then, yeah, you can take a Nuncio of Aquila on your character. In your morale phase, you can select an enemy infantry, cavalry, or biker unit that is not sanctioned, which is a state it'll be in, and within 9 of the bearer, and roll 2d6. And if it's greater than their leadership characteristic, then until the start of your next morale phase, they're sanctioned. They're -1 to hit from all their attacks, because you just be like, "You're bad. The Imperium says you're bad." And they've got Agents of the Imperium and Brutal Judgments, which is their core rule. Instruments of Repression. If your army's battle forged, this unit cannot be used as a compulsory selection and detachment unless the detachment is Adeptus Arbites detachment. So I would be stoked if there was actually like a cop army in the future. And the Subductor Squad is a separate squad. That's all the melee bits. If you wanted to make 10 with melee weapons, you can as well. And then the Exaction Squad, that's the one with like all the character models in it basically, and it's like a little command squad. So you can literally like take these guys as an army. So you got an elite choice, you got 2 troop choices, and I think the elite choice actually can be a leader because it's your Proctor Exactant, your big character. And he's an elite, not a hero, but that's still pretty great. So yeah, the Space Cops are getting some real rules, and I think that's fantastic. And so there it is, the Lion. A surprising amount of fun, different, weird stuff to end off. I think this is the end. The Arks of Omen series. Cool different game types where you're destroying the spaceship by blowing out its walls and having big guys come to fight. And then, of course, this kind of like new appearance of a Primarch in the Imperium. So overall, I'm excited to add this to my collection and to just have this like rounded out with all the factions now having rules for boarding actions, because I think it was a cool supplement, a cool bottle game for the end of 40k 9th, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews. I'm Ash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continue to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.